Chapter 89. 3 years later. We really don't know what stopped Harltz. It could have been that he caused harm to a unicorn, or perhaps the sugar and salt worked. Maybe it was the cord being cut. We might just never know. The first year went by quickly, each week seeming like only a day or two. We immediately started the deconstruction of Harltz and his park to the ground, and then beyond the ground level. We started working our way down. Each level held a new layer of darkness that we had to conquer. The employees did as they were told by Harltz and never gave us a problem. Mermaid and her people were immediately put in charge of cleaning all the water supplies. It took quite a bit of testing to figure out exactly what Harltz had added. Then the job was to figure out how to purify it. It took a few months, but the day the fresh water hit the pipes was a day of celebration. Alpha's pack, in this time, had 2 jobs. One was to keep the desperate patrons from entering the park. Alpha took a few of his men and women to do this personally. He had fashioned the plug into a necklace and proudly adorned himself with it. Their second job was to take care of the animals' needs that lived in the petting zoo. For the meat eaters, they made their lives as comfortable and as natural as possible. We finally all agreed to let the tamer animals that only ate grass, such as the zebras, deer, giraffes, and ponies, run free in the meadows with all the horses. The elephants and rhinos were the greatest help in taking down the park. We brought in some buffalo as well to pull the park apart, piece by piece. The deer herd was in charge of the television stations and collections, teaching everyone all the new skills they would need to know to survive without Harltz. If you are wondering about the mothers, because of the kind, quick-thinking Dr. Furnius, they were able to walk again and take care of their children out in the real sunshine. Henry, when he finally woke up 2 days after all the events had transpired, was very confused. He would get strong headaches at times that no medicine could touch. The doctor wanted to do a few tests, but Henry complied for a while. In fact, his first procedure he demanded was a vasectomy. But then, after months of tests, he started to deny more poking and prodding, and we understood why. He had been through enough over the years. We purged his body with as much water as we could. We did manage to get him to agree to hemodialysis, but as many times as it was tried, it just couldn't get rid of every single nano, and they would just rebuild new ones, giving him little relief. The doctor's hypothesis was eventually the nanos would run out of new parts to build from, but it could be many years. Henry, through the first year, found that the further he was from the city, the fewer headaches and pains he would go through. He met with Mermaid, who agreed he could stay in their camp out the distant sea. We haven't heard much from him other than a letter here and there. He missed his children desperately, so we would send letters back telling of how some of them were doing until the water had purged through everyone. Once this happened, many of the women hated Henry, and some gave their kids to others to raise. But there was one that still very much cared for Henry. She took her children and his oldest, Harry, since his mother abandoned him, with her to the water tribe and to Henry. In the last letter, Rosemary was learning to weave netting, and baby Lavender was a natural in the water. She had already found her spirit in a young dolphin calf. Harry was more of a builder, now 8. He was learning how to repair all parts of the tribe's boats. We were invited in the coming months to his sea living celebration, where he would spend a year on the water without touching land with all the other boys in the tribe around the same age. Now that the people have come to their senses, I found my mother and father. They were so happy to find out that their children were very much alive, and some memories were returning to father after seeing his brother and grandmother. Speaking of which, Sleipnir had found his perfect match in a spicy redhead from the wolf. Because of their ages, they were made to wait, but when the day came, they decided to start their own herd, and many from all the herds followed them deeper into the woods. They started training bear cubs and wolf cubs for what was to come. They don't write letters. They like to live in seclusion as much as possible from outward eyes. We can only guess if she has had a child or not. Since we are speaking of these things 2 years into our newfound peace, a new tribe made themselves known, the Sky Feathers. They raise hawks on mountainsides too far for one to walk in months' time. They can fly with gliders that have motors that look much like a go-kart, and make up the distance in a day or two's time. The first one that came to us was named William. He had one arm. He had been found by them many years ago crying in the desert with something red tied around his waist and was now their new leader. He had decided it was time to let themselves be found. The word is out that a great battle is coming our way from other parks. We may have stopped Harlts here, but who or what controls other parks wants the control back, and we plan on stopping them first before they make their first move. Lavender and Abel stayed with us, completing the fall of Harlts. Their little girl, Raim, a bundle of happiness with her white blonde locks that bounce as she walks around, has very pale skin and piercing blue eyes. She loves to toddle up to Colt's leg, who will pick her up quickly and spin her around till she giggles. Lavender and Abel have found themselves pregnant once more. For two quiet people, clearly, there isn't much quiet in their bed. Colt and I have our little one, a boy. He looks just like Colt with his long black hair, slightly more curly than Colt's, and he has my uncle and father's blue eyes. He is very close to Riam's age. It was tough to just call him a foal, but we wanted to keep the traditions Colt knew strong in this new world. Colt and I spend our days in the park giving instructions and leading the town to start a rebuild of the grounds that will be our new fortress for what is to come. Day by day, we watch as some clear-minded people decide to move to another state with a park still running, and we let them go. Some cannot handle the changes as well as others. The unicorn animatronic that saved me liked the name Mac. He became Colt's new horse. He was fitted with a new skin, mane, and tail, his parts oiled and repaired. A new horn was placed upon his head that at night could be turned on to illuminate the area. He was able to run in the pastures and fields with other horses anytime he wished. He was quite happy with his new settings.